Well, sentimental stuff, the stuff we keep to remember good times from our past or people from our past, it can be a little tricky because it comes in so many different shapes and sizes, from dishes to a box full of photos or baby stuff. It's not like we can just like neatly stack it up and go about our day, right? And so today, let's break this stuff down into 4 different categories, and we're gonna use that as our guidelines so that we can get through these sentimental items really quickly. Well, hi, I'm Dawn from The Minimal Mom. We love sharing tips and tricks about how you can simplify your house quickly, and that includes sentimental items, which is probably one of the tougher categories to tackle. So don't necessarily do this like right away. Hopefully you've got some other decluttering under your belt, you've built up some of your decluttering muscles, and you're in a place where you're ready to tackle some of this stuff. If not, that's okay. You can always come back and revisit these ideas. But what I want to suggest today is that we break down this sentimental stuff, the stuff we've been hanging on to remember the past, into 4 different categories, and we're going to use those as our guidelines so that we can get through this stuff really quickly. And the 4 different categories are stuff that we can use. Is there some of this stuff that we could be using on a regular basis? Stuff that we display so that we can fully appreciate it, and so that we're prompted if someone comes over to our house or if our kids mention it to retell the stories and to remember what was so great about that time or that person. We're also going to talk about how we can thoughtfully store things. So putting some guidelines in place and also storing things so that we are more likely to go back through it occasionally and that it's not overwhelming. Or the 4th category is to share or sell things. So most likely we're also going to come across items that no longer have a place in our house, that it's time to share them with another family member, to donate it, or to sell it and try and make a little bit of money off of it too. So those are our 4 categories that we're going to use today. So let's break them down and talk a little bit more specifically about how they work and what we'll put into them. All right, so the first one is kind of self-explanatory. It's things that we use. So of course I've talked about my grandma's red tablecloth a lot in the past. I love that when we put it out, we use it for special occasions, that it reminds me of Christmas at my grandma's house. And so I'm also learning not to be afraid to use these things, that yes, there is the possibility that your 9-year-old will get super glue on it at Christmas time. And yes, that happened. And so now there is a spot of super glue on the tablecloth. But you know what? At first I was a little frustrated, but then I was like, it just adds another memory or another part of the story to it of her trying to do a craft project on Christmas Day because she loves crafts and doing all of that kind of stuff. Or my grandma's glass pitcher. And so I love using it. Could it break? Yeah, there is the possibility that it could. But you know what? I would rather be using it on a regular basis, remembering my grandma as I'm using it, than having it stuck in storage where I'm never gonna appreciate it. I also have this that we use. This was a baby blanket that Diana and I had when we were babies. And I also have these blue glasses that actually belong to the previous owners of our house. And it started as a set of 4, but also our 9-year-old broke one of the glasses one time too. And I was tempted, honestly. I was like, oh, maybe we should just use these for decoration. Maybe we shouldn't use them anymore. But I've really enjoyed when we entertain and people use the glasses, they'll often comment on them, the color and how cool they are. And I love retelling the story of them. And so I've decided that, you know what? It's okay if sometimes things get damaged while we're using them. I would rather use this stuff than just have it sit in storage. So that's the first category. Category number 2, can we display this stuff? So of course, it's so great to have pictures on the wall. I also love shadow boxes. What a cool way to display the things that are important to you, whether it's your wedding day or another important day or someone that was important to you. I think that is just such a cool way to honor and remember people in the past. And so as we're going through our stuff, I really hate the idea of things from people that were important to me, of them just sitting in storage where they can deteriorate, they can get broken in storage too, they can get wet, especially linens or anything paper. And so I really try, like I keep the picture from my grandma on the shelf now. I've been using, we've talked about my other grandma's milk glass. I've been using some of the small dishes. You'll have to remind me, I don't remember what those dishes are actually for, but we use them for dessert or vegetable dip or different things. And so I love this idea of actually displaying and using these things in our house and not just having it sit in storage. So are there specific pieces that are important that we can pull out and display or use? And then the third category is how can we store it thoughtfully? So how can we store it in a way that we're more likely to go through it? I've talked about our baby boxes in the past, and so each of our kids have a baby box. And what's so great about this is this serves as a guideline or a boundary to how much baby stuff I'm gonna keep for each of them. And I love that with this boundary, I've only kept the best of the best or my favorite things for them. And so they love, anytime I pull out these boxes, they have so much fun going through them, looking at the stuff that was theirs. We talk about the memories and the different stories about when they're babies, and someday, then if we want to, it'd be really easy to pass on to them, and it's just contained in that box. I also have my own scrap box, and so in my scrapbooks box I put different things that have been important to me. Some of you thought I got rid of this in one of my paper clutter videos. Adeline gave this to me as a gift, and no, I keep the very special things. So our kids make so much artwork, I could not possibly keep it all, and I don't like taking pictures of it all because that's also inventory that I have to manage. It's just in a different format. And so yes, I did keep this. This was a gift, but I just keep some of the very special stuff. I put the date on it and I put it in the box. And what I love is that the box isn't so big and it has clear sides, and so it's not intimidating to go through. I know that I've only kept the best of the best in there, and it's really all happy memories and stuff that I enjoy going through again. And if it starts to get full, then I just pull some stuff out and replace it with new stuff. And it's always amazing to me how seasons change and how things that might have been really important to us in the past, like I came across this was my bib for running the rock and roll marathon in San Diego in back, let's see, when was it? In 2004, so 15 years ago, 16 years ago. And it's amazing like how in the past, like this was such a huge deal. And I mean, it was a good accomplishment, but how since then now, how our wedding and having kids has become much more important than that. And so, I mean, it's still fun to keep stuff like this, but I really do only keep the best of the best in this box, and I don't try to keep everything anymore, because if we keep tons of stuff, what do? We never go back through it again, and it's not as important. So it's great just to be able to keep tokens of the really important stuff and to be able to share it with the kids and to revisit it from time to time. But I remember when I had like big totes and dark colored totes full of stuff, it was just overwhelming to me, and a lot of times I felt guilty about it, and that's not how I want to feel about this stuff. It's supposed to be reminding us of happy memories and happy people in our past, and so that was not how I wanted to feel about it. But also in regards to storing thoughtfully is photos, right? Have you ever had a box of photos handed to you like this? Like have your mom say, here, this is yours, take it. And so I'm actually in the process with this box right now. I love these photo albums that have a spot on the side. And so like I found a whole package of photos from my junior prom, and I don't need 24 pictures to remember that. And so I'm just gonna pick out a couple. I'm gonna throw them in here and write a note next to it so that we all remember what it was from. But like a whole big box of photos like that, I could easily pare it down to this album, just keeping 2 to 3 pictures from each event that's important to me. I also in the past have felt like I needed to go through all my photos and put them in chronological order before I would ever start putting them in albums, but I'm realizing now it's better just to get it in an album. So even if it's not perfectly lined up with my other albums or whatever, I'd rather just pick out the pictures I want to keep, get them in an album, jot a note by them, and have them in a format that really it is something that we would flip through from time to time. Or if you want to be able to digitize the photos easily or share them with other friends or family members, I love this app where you can just take a picture of the photo and it trims it, it recognizes the borders of it, it trims it, and then you can put a note with it and you can categorize it and easily store it or share it with other family members. I know that the question about greeting cards and birthday cards and those kinds of cards comes up pretty regularly too. And so I love the idea of, again, finding a thoughtful boundary for it. And so keeping only the cards that maybe fit in a container like this, but then putting this somewhere where we'll flip through it occasionally, and so that we can appreciate and remember the people that gave them to us. And I also want to encourage you, if you are a scrapbooker and maybe you've started scrapbooks in the past, what I like about scrapbooks is that we generally just pick out a few photos, like we don't try to archive every photo, but I do know how we could have started scrapbooking in the past and then not had the time to continue it. And so I would say, don't worry about catching up on it. Just do what's best for you moving forward. Whether it's putting the photos into albums and jotting a note next to them or taking pictures of them and making them digital. Don't worry about trying to go back and catch up. I know, like what the oldest child has this beautiful scrapbook and then subsequent kids don't. It happens, but I think it'd be better just to part ways with the scrapbooking stuff. Leave it what's finished, and then just get the rest organized into albums if you don't have time for it. And then of course the last category is things that we're going to share or sell. And so you know, we all come by this sentimental stuff different ways. Some of us have had family members pass on and we've gotten lots of stuff from their previous household. But for me, I don't want my house to become a time capsule to the past. It's important to me that we honor people that have gone before us, that made it possible for us to be here today and to remember the happy memories about them. But I know we don't need to keep all of their physical possessions to be able to do that. And so by being really honest with ourselves, what stuff can I realistically use and display to remember them? And what stuff is otherwise just gonna sit in storage and deteriorate or be a burden on me? Our loved ones, I don't think they would want their stuff to be a burden on us. And so what stuff is it time to pass on so that we really can honor them, but keep moving forward with stuff in our house that remembers where we've been, but more importantly, supports where it is that we're going. All right, well, I hope this helps a little bit. I'd love to know what ideas you have for storing and sharing and creating boundaries around sentimental items. How do you store them in your house? Please share that down below. It's always so helpful. I also have a printable guide for different questions that you can ask yourself when you're going through sentimental items. So I will put a link to that down below. But we really hope this helps. We hope you subscribe so we can continue to work through simplifying our homes together. And I will look forward to visiting with you again soon.